Hi, I'm Dan Drozdowitz, the president of E&D Waterworks, and today we're going to show you how to change your cartridges in your reverse osmosis system, or RO as it's sometimes known, your drinking water treatment. This is a ReoPure system by Great Lakes International and Racine, one of our basic systems that we've installed in city water and well water applications. The first step that you're going to do is at your kitchen faucet where you have the RO tap, you're going to go ahead and turn that faucet on and let that storage tank empty out completely. Depending upon the time of day that you're doing this, you may want to save some of the water so that you can make some coffee later. It'll take about 2 hours for the RO system to recover. Now that we have the water running, we'll go downstairs and actually change the filters on the system. Now that we have the water running upstairs, we've come down to the basement. And when your RO system was installed, we probably put in some type of a shutoff valve for you. It might be a white plastic valve with a blue handle on it, or in this case we have a chrome stop, and that's just a quarter turn to close the valve. That'll shut off all the water going to the RO system. Once the water stopped running upstairs, which usually takes about 2 minutes, then once this is turned off, you should be able to unscrew your canisters from your drinking water system. The storage tank has a shutoff valve up on top, but that ordinarily does not have to be turned off. So with your filter wrench, you can start with the sediment filter. Go ahead and just loosen it. Loosen the carbon filter. And now you can carefully unscrew those. And they are full of water. So it sometimes is helpful to have a bucket or something to pour the water into. In this case, we'll just use the salt tank for the water side. And this is your sediment cartridge. As you can see, it is slightly discolored. It's turned orange, and that's the rust that's probably coming out of the plumbing from the piping system. It could be from the water supply. Notice that the cartridge in the center is still nice and white. That tells us that we're doing the change at an appropriate method. Had this discoloration gone all the way through, the cartridge is no longer beneficial. This is what the sediment cartridge starts out, a nice brilliant white. So you can see that the filter is removing something from the system. The sediment filter has been taken out, so now we have the carbon filter. We'll go ahead and pour the water out. If your canister has a lot of discoloration in it, you can take that upstairs to the faucet and brush it out or rinse it out. In this case, we're looking nice and clean. So we have the carbon filter. You can go ahead and open your package. Both the filters are shrink wrapped at the factory for protection, sanitary conditions, but we're still going to use hydrogen peroxide as part of our process. If you don't pull the wrapping off, the water will not get into the filter. All that you need to do is just drop the cartridge in. Inside the canister there's a stub that will line up with the hole in the filter. There isn't really a top or bottom to these cartridges. And we'll grab the sediment cartridge. Same thing, we'll open it up. Peel the wrapper off. We're going to go ahead and drop that in the cartridge again, making sure that it centers. And when they are centered in, you'll notice that they're just about flush to the top of the canister. I've mentioned sanitizing. What's important is to use the hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide will work better in your RO system rather than using chlorine bleach because it won't harm the membrane itself. So we're going to use a bottle, and this is basically a 16-ounce bottle. So we're going to go ahead and pour about 8 ounces into each reservoir. Go ahead and pour it in. Once that cartridge starts to float up on the sediment, you're pretty much at halfway. Put it right back onto the system. And when you're putting it back on, hand tight is all that you have to do. You do not have to use the wrench to reapply it. The other point that I want to make is while you have that canister open, make sure that the O-ring is still down into the groove. If you've taken it upstairs to brush it out, make sure that you haven't brushed the O-ring out of position, because if that O-ring is not sitting down in the groove, it will leak when you put the canister back on. So now we'll pour our 8 ounces of peroxide in the carbon filter. And we'll go ahead and screw that on. Hand tight. And then it's just as easy as turn the water back on. You'll hear the water rushing through the canisters, and what will happen is through your drain line, which in this case is the black tubing, you'll hear actually air pushing through that, kind of spitting, and that tells you that the water's flowing through. And from this point on, you're going to wait about 2 hours before you use any water. But now that the water's turned back on, we'll need to go back upstairs and close the handle on the RO faucet so that it'll build up pressure into the storage tank. One other maintenance item that should be done about every 2 years is your storage tank is like a well pressure tank. It has a rubber air balloon in there, and it is possible for that air in that balloon to escape over time. So over a period of a couple years, you want to check that. On your storage tank, usually on the side or down towards the bottom, there's going to be a little air stem, just like you would have on your car tire. And you're going to want to check that while the storage tank is empty. So you're going to do this at this stage of the process. I have a little handheld tire gauge here. It's a digital one, so it'll give me an accurate reading. We'll just reach up there, press it onto it. You'll hear it hiss, and I actually have 7 pounds of air. The ideal in a tank like this on city water is going to be 10 pounds. So we're going to have to grab our air compressor and put a little air into the system while that RO unit is starting to fill back up. And now we have 10 pounds of air, which is the ideal amount for the RO storage tank. And we can put the cap back on the air stem. Now all that's left is to go upstairs, close the faucet on the RO system, wait a few hours, 2 hours or more, and then you can start drinking the water again. And that's all that's involved with your routine maintenance that should be done every 6 months on city water, once a year on well water applications. E&D Waterworks. If water runs to it or through it, we do it.